So I love that you brought up the pets versus cattle argument, Jack, because I've actually hated that argument for a very long time. And I'll tell you why. Because people who use that as the argument have never actually raised cattle. I have. I am the only CCIE that I know that knows how to milk a cow the old-fashioned way, because there is a different class of cows, dairy cows. Dairy cows exist to serve a very specific function and have a lifetime that cannot be easily replicated. You think you can get milk out of a bull? I've got a bridge to sell you cheap. But more importantly, in security, we need that concept of dairy cattle. I don't necessarily need to name them all, but they're all valuable to me for the function that they serve. So a firewall has a specific function that cannot be easily replicated. A SIEM, a SOAR, XDR, ADS, IPS, the list goes on and on and on, because security is very tool focused. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that we do need all of those things, and we can't just wholesale replace them. Think about something as innocuous as DLP, right? Like, man, if we wrote better access lists, we wouldn't need DLP. Said anybody who's probably about to get an email from Brian Krebs asking for a comment about why their entire database of social security numbers was just leaked online, because who needs DLP, right? Because these are the kinds of solutions that we put in place to catch the exceptions when they fall through the cracks. As our friend Karen Lopez said at Security Field Day this week, a lot of these problems are not the results of a bad decision. They are the results of a lot of bad decisions that compound on top of each other until they become a problem. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we kind of end up where we do a lot of times. Is it's not bad to think about replacing your pets with cattle. It's bad when somebody at the board level says, well, why don't we replace all of our pets with cattle?
Right. And I think you're, purposefully or not, maybe misinterpreting my argument, which is that we need to rethink the mechanisms by which we do things in cybersecurity.
That's fair.
Okay. Look, my history is I was an engineer. I was a software developer and a hardware developer for many, many years, right? We stopped writing in assembly a long time ago. I actually had an experience where I helped people understand the value of moving from assembly to a higher level language, C in this case. And after discussing all of this, the chief architects of the product basically said, that's great, but a compiler will never generate code that runs faster than our handwritten assembly code can run. And I was like, this is absolutely nuts. But
it's a pedantic argument. You're saving like 10 milliseconds.
Back then, to some people, it made sense. It was important. But we've long passed that point where nobody does it anymore, because the compilers are so much better than humans are at this job. And we now no longer write in C. I mean, most people don't develop in a very high level language.
Linus Torvalds would like to have a word with you.
Most people, in most application development these days, containerized applications in the cloud, all of the applications the security teams are running today are containerized JavaScript-based stuff. And it's not assembly. It's not x86 or MIPS assembly like I did, right? Nobody writes in binary code anymore for a reason, and that is because there is a better way to do these things. Now, that doesn't mean there are exceptions to the rules, but if we continue to say, let's take AI and use it to make incremental gains in efficiency on the way the SOC is, and still have a SOC that is predicated on a human sitting at a keyboard responding to events, we are going to have problems, because we will never solve all of the problems we have. We need to build an architecture where we trust the responses, just like we do in intent-based configuration. And then we have overseers. Now, you talked about humans in the loop versus humans over the loop. What I'm talking about is changing the loop completely, so that the whole point of intent-based configuration is you don't come in under the hood and tweak things, because then the intent-based configuration system is going to say, that was a change that wasn't in my system. I'm going to go overwrite it again, right? Reverse it. And that's what I'm talking about here, is rethinking the way we do SOC systems so that it is 100% predicated on an automated system with humans going afterwards and saying, is it working the way I believe I intend to?